What is going on? So I haven't done a video in quite a while, but we just had US Drift Battle in the Bay last weekend, and so I'm going to do a recap of how the event went and what we went through to, secure Prospec license to get on the podium. Because it was definitely an event that we had to be very strategic about, because I was not expecting that track to eat through tires the way it did. So we basically started from the beginning. Got there Thursday, late at night. Got in, actually got a good night's sleep for once, which was pretty rare to happen, especially like competition. So got a good night's sleep. Woke up Friday, ready to go for practice. Basically got everything set up, blah, blah, blah. Went through all the driver's meeting and everything. Go out for our first practice session, and this bank is huge. I've ran banks before, but not as long as this one, or dragging on the wall as long. So it was kind of rough to get the initiation I wanted to without being too slow and without putting me on like an unsafe line. So I played it conservative on the wall for the first couple laps. I was playing with handbraking in, I was playing with clutch kicking in, just flicking it in, and then basically ended up doing a clutch kick to upset the car, and then a little bit of handbrake, and then just flat out. A little bit of left foot brake to like work the zone towards the end. That's basically what we ended up coming up with after a few laps of getting comfortable with it. But went out for, like I said, the first lap we went out, the bank was kind of weird, but we figured the course out, had a solid lap. Go out for the second lap, do a clutch kick initiation, a little bit of handbrake, get heavy on it. I knew what the bank was about at this time, so I kind of had a decent bank run. Hit the zones pretty good, and then I was like, all right, cool. Like, let's do it again. Get back in line, leave the box off grid. Car like barely had any grip, was spinning the tires down the straightaway. I just thought it was, tires are hot, so I throw it in the bank. Running the bank, coming down, transition to the touch and go. Come to go back, and I hear my tires going, and I'm like, man. All right, so we do the lap, go through the infield. By the time I got to the finish line, cap blew off the tire, blew the brand new flare off. I immediately got on the radio, and it was like, to my dad, I'm like, man, we're gonna be in trouble with tires. That was 3 laps, and it was a brand new set of the Federal RSRs, which don't last too long to begin with, but we were basically planning for 4 laps on them, and we were getting 2 because the grip was gone quarter of the 3rd lap. So that was a struggle. So threw a new set of tires on, went back out, and then this is when we got comfy with the clutch kick in the handbrake, and like we were starting to push up on the bank. I mean, mainly because, so I went to Spotter's Tower to talk to Denofa, Reese, Rapper Dan, all them for just insight on my line and all this, and get up there, and as soon as I start talking about it, Reese turns around to me and goes, "You're being conservative, aren't you?" I'm like, I mean, a little bit. I'm trying to figure out the initiation on the wall, but other than that, he just shakes his head and goes, "Man, you're usually up there," and just turns around. I was like, all right. So, not even knowing that I'm doing it, I talked to the rest of them about inside the line, a couple things I wanted to try. So I go back out, leave the line, row 1, 2, 3 down the straightaway, clutch kick in, a little bit of handbrake, heavy on throttle. We're coming through. And next thing you know, I'm dragging the quarter panel on the wall. Threw down a great lap. It was an absolute ripper of a lap. And then I like come off the track, and I'm like, man, he subconsciously got in my head and got me higher on the bank. And from that lap out, we ran the wall high every single time. So it was like definitely a good thing, but I was like, man, that's weird how that works. But so that was, I think we did 6 laps. 6 laps the first day, or I should say the first practice session. We did 6 laps, and I went through 3 pairs of tires. So we were starting to get concerned about not having enough. I brought 12 tires, but so we ended the first session early. There was like an hour left. We just sat out, chilled, talked about, my driving, about what we wanted to change. Car setup felt good. I mean, the only setup changes that we did the whole weekend was I dropped 4 psi in tire pressure. That was it. Like, there was no other setup to the car. It was all driver fixing my driving. So that was a plus. But we had another practice session coming up at night, and I couldn't run it because if I ran that, I wouldn't have enough tires for the competition the next day. So basically I had enough tires to go from start to the finals. If I lost and got dropped down, since it was double elimination, I would have ran out of tire. So we weren't gonna run the practice session at night. We were gonna skip it. I had the track pretty decent. I was confident that I can, run a good lap, but I wanted to get more. I really wanted to get more just to have that comfort factor. So we were changing the dead set of tires that were on the car. And this was probably maybe an hour before the last practice of the first day. And my dad pulled the tire off and he goes, dude, this one's pretty decent. And I'm like, all right, well, let's find another one, the decent one. So obviously the right side tire was getting smoked off because of the bank, but the left side wore a little bit less because of the track layout. So we picked through our dead tires, found another one with maybe 1 lap on it. So now I was running, the driver's side was running the right direction, and the passenger side, we just ran it backwards because it was rubber. It was going to get us on track, get another lap in. So we were like, screw it. Threw those on, dropped the pressure down a little bit, I think I only went 2 pounds just because they were spanked. Go out and just threw a ripper of a lap, and it was that one lap that just made me feel confident that okay, we're ready for competition. Hit all the zones, checked the boxes, was just super happy with it. And it just made, I think out of the biggest thing is it just made me feel comfortable, getting that extra lap in, to know that from sitting from the first practice, I can go out and I can do it. So that was a huge confident booster. And so we called it basically. Actually, I did 1 lap, and then I was gonna come off the track, but I made a mistake and thought that they closed the exit for some weird reason, just because the way the cones are set up. So I drive back around to grid and was hey man, they closed the exit. And they're like, no. I was like, all right, well, let me just go around and I'll exit. So pull up to the box, to the chicane, and they waved me, and I'm going down the straightaway, and I'm like, man, kind of feels like I got some grip left. So I was the only car on track, so I drove down, bam, clutch kick into the first corner, threw it up on the bank high, dragging it fine. Come through, as soon as I hit the touch and go, no tires. So I did the whole inside track just completely gripless and just skating around. But it was more of a hype factor and everything. It was just, I got to run the bank once more, which is huge for comfort and practice. And it was just one of those fun laps where I was just going nowhere in the center. So that killed those tires, and then we pulled off, practice ended, and now we're thinking about competition day. And like I said before, literally I had enough tires to go from the 16 2 finals. And like, if I lost or had one more time, we were going to be out of tires. Like, simple as that. So now I'm like searching around, and of course I'm the only person left running 17s in competition. So 255 40 17s, nobody else has them. So now we're like, man, like, now I'm starting to get like a little stressed, because I was like, dude, like, we drove all the way here, just there's a license on the line, like money on the line, and I don't have enough tires. Like, damn it, like, how did we like let this happen? And so we're going through ideas, I'm talking to people, and Mike Perez was one of them, and he was there driving a Supra, and he's running 18s. And so I talked to him, and he's like, hey, he goes, you know, I have a pair of tires that if you need them, you can use them. Just, you gotta find wheels. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I have 5x114 to 120 adapters that we use for an old set of front wheels that I kept in the camper for this exact reason, and it just like clicked, and I was like, I got it. So we found them. I think they were like underneath the couch or something. We ended up finding them, and now I'm there with a homie, Christian Nelson. So he runs 18s, 5x114. So I was like, hey man, like, if I need to, can I use a set of wheels? I have adapters. I can get tires. We'll throw them on, blah, blah, blah. Of course, he's like, yeah, no problem. He goes, you want to use my tires? So that was also another option, because obviously super helpful. It's just like, oh yeah, take my tires, bro. Like, I'm here for fun, just trying to get seat time, but you're here for a license, so take them. So that was super rad. So we had that backup. And so now I was talking, you know, Perez said we can use those, but it was the time, you know, he was still driving the next day, and like, I didn't want to use that option first, because I don't want to take seat time away from anybody, which I'm just super grateful that he even offered that, which we'll get back to him later on, because he actually saved my ass. But so now I think, yeah, the night goes on, go to bed. We we picked qualifying beers that day, and we ended up getting 5th. Drew 5th, and then, you know, we hung out for the rest of the night. Night goes on, morning comes, and woke up decently early, and it was just still stewing in my head. I'm like, man, we gotta find some tires, man. Like, I want to practice. We had a warm up, like, tandem session. It's like, I want to practice this. I need to practice. I didn't do any chase runs, because I was concentrated on just learning the track. So I ended up talking to Ryan Anspach. I think I don't want to butcher his last name, but Ryan, the dude who runs Langley Drift Club. And I went up to him, and I was like, man, do you know anybody with tires? And he ended up hooking me up. He let me use a set of these baller 18s with this like fancy lip on them, like fanciest I've ever thrown in my car. He let me use those. And we found some tires from him as well, which I was super grateful for. Like, met this dude the first time, like, at this event, and it was no questions asked. He was just like, what do you need? Let's do it. Come with me. Let's get it done. And I was like, awesome. So I got a set of tires from him, and now I had that buffer set of tires. So we decided, you know what, it's a very smart idea. Let's go out for tandem practice. We can get 2 laps in. Let's do 2 chase runs and get comfortable in chase. And because, you know, I didn't do any chase runs at all, like I said. So threw those tires on. They were Kendas, so they were different than what we were running, but I've ran the Kendas a lot. I know what they do. They're fantastic tires. So like, I was confident, run the same setup that, you know, we were running with the other tires, and just don't cheat in the car, just go get 2 chase laps down. So we go out for the tandem practice and go out. I throw a chase run. It's actually against Tyler Hess, who I was battling first. So we basically both got a little bit of like information and data on each other before we even battled in the competition. So I like threw it in, and like I was a little bit like shy on him and, you know, down low because I was expecting him to be a little bit faster on like his lead, and I mistimed it. So it was like luck. Like I said, this is why I wanted to go out for practice, because I mistimed my entry and chase, and like it wasn't awful, but it was on like the verge of like I would have got docked quite a bit of points in comp. So we do that run, ended up cleaning it up, you know, good proximity to like the infield and all that, and felt comfortable. Come back around, and then I forget who we chased next. Chased somebody next, but anyways, I got 2 chase laps in practice. 2, you know, very good needed chase laps, because there was a couple spots we needed to like fine tune in our chase to be like aggressive safely in the right spots and be able to back off and surge in. So it was that set of tires was absolutely like huge to how the weekend went. Like if I didn't have those tires, like it would have been very hard to you know, pull a good chase together. So super grateful for that. That was awesome. Now we go into going to the competition. First battle was Tyler Hess. We just ran into them in practice, so we both knew, you know, a little bit what each other was gonna do. And he, you know, I led first, throw it in, high on the wall, checked all the boxes, had like a fantastic run. He was pretty solid in chase, like was right there. So I knew I had to like push it. And we switch, he leads. Now I knew where I messed up in practice, so I made the adjustment on my entry, entered right on his door, and just pushing the proximity like early. Threw down a great lap. He threw down a, you know, pretty solid lead lap, so it was easy to chase, easy to surge in. Like it just worked. We ended up getting the win, which was awesome. And then we had Alan Boss next, who his car looked super fast all weekend. So we knew that we were gonna have to push and be ready to keep up, because he was very gripped up, very fast. So come out, we I think I led first. I don't remember. I think I led first. Go out, decent lap, good on the boxes. Or no, he led first. Yeah, he led first because we threw it into the bank and he drove away from me. And I was like, crap. Crap. Which, unfortunate, he ended up spinning. So, you know, we kind of caught a break there. We caught him by the end of the bank, but he washed out after touch and go. So, yeah, so we ended up getting a win with Alan Boss. And then we moved on, and then now we had Rich Whiteman, which super close homie, absolute ripper. He's in his pro car, like looking fantastic all weekend. So we knew we had to bring her A game. Like this was throw it all in, because his lead laps are just about perfect every time. Super consistent, super good line, just always ripping. And in the back of my head, I'm still thinking, hey, we have just enough tires to make it to finals. I can't lose, which was not a good thing to, you know, have in the back of my mind, because you make mistakes like I did. We're lined up. Rich leads first, throws his lap down. Beautiful lead lap. I'm behind him, pushing the proximity, just like basically on him the whole lap. He made a little bit of distance coming after the inner clip one through the center section of the track, just because his car is way more set up than mine. Like, he just, as soon as it was like digging out of the hole, he made like probably a car and a half, 2-car gap, and then I reeled him back in at the end and like was there. But knew I had to put down a pretty baller lead run to make up for a little bit of distance. And we switch, I come out the chicane, rode through the gears down the straightaway, and for some reason, when I went to clutch kick, I held the clutch in. I don't know what it was, the mental game, the thinking about, you know, not having the tires, just the pressure of being in competition. I come out and I botched the entry. And now I'm basically driving at the wall, coasting with the clutch in, and Rich is just about in my quarter panel because he initiated on my door, basically. So now I just like mad at sidestep the clutch and just let the thing eat, and I pulled away from contact. I ended up running the bank high from there on out, ran a fantastic lead run minus that mistake, and Rich got the win, of course. So now we drop down, I go back to the pits, and we drop down to the loser bracket. I go back to the pits, and I was so mad at myself. Like, a dumb mistake, and it was just one of those things that I was super bummed about it, and like, I just sat in the car. Like, my dad and teammate Brandon changed my tires, jacked me up. I just sat there and just like needed a minute to just recoup. It's like, damn it, now we're in the situation that I didn't want to be in. We have to battle through the loser bracket, which is more battles. We don't have tires for it. So, one, I'm mad about that. Two, I'm mad about I made a stupid mistake that I wasn't making all weekend. So I just sat there, collected myself, recoup, because we're still in the show. We dropped down, I had to do more work. But, so now, I think at this point, now I was panicking about tires, obviously. So I talked to Perez, and he had one pair of tires left. One pair. They were Kendas, the same thing that I got earlier from Ryan. And I was like, listen, man, I think I'm gonna run out of tires. You know, can I just mount these, and then if I use them, I owe you huge. If not, I'll unmount them and give them back. And he goes, without even a question, he goes, take them. And which is fantastic. Dude is such a good dude. Like, so like, I was super excited. We had another pair of tires, felt a little bit more comfortable, but still, if we went through one more times, still to run out of tires. So we got those mounted on Ryan's fancy 18s with this big step lip, just in case. Put those in the back, went through all my stuff first, and so we had another pair of tires. My next battle, I go out, and it was Tyler Hess again, because I dropped down a loser bracket, and now he battled up from when I knocked him down a loser bracket. Now we met again. So now I was recuperated, back in my mind. Mine was good. I was all pissed off before, cleared it out. My teammates hyped me up, talked me out of it, like got me back on the game, which thankfully they did, because I was being really hard on myself, and like, show wasn't over. Like, we were still very in it. So they got me back, picked me back up, got me going, make sure that like we were ready for the battle. Go out, it's Tyler Hess, end up taking the W. Then after that, we had, who did we have? We went Tyler Hess, and we had, I think, Ozark. So, another ripper. We go out, battle him, and I was like in a flow. Like, we got the bullshit out of the way. I made the mistake in the competition against Rich. We battled back to a win. moved down. So like now my head was good. We were in the zone, just ready to rip. So we go out for that battle and I just threw it down. Like felt super comfortable, high on the bank, dragging a wall, like hit all the zones. Just, it felt like a very, very good lap. We switch, he throws it out and I just on him. I just applied the pressure because like I was feeling myself, just in the zone, just ready to just keep driving. So get the W on him, and now we move on. And at the time, I didn't know that that battle locked us up a license. I had no idea. I was just in the car ready to just keep battling. So I didn't know that beating him put us no lower than third, which earned us a license. So I'm just in the car ready to go, and I got the homeboy senile next, Christian Nelson, and now I'm hyped. Like, competition doesn't matter at this point. Like, I haven't driven with this dude in like 2 years, never driven with his pro car, and we started driving together like 6 years ago. We were in parking lots in cars nowhere near the level that they're at now, just banging doors with each other, having a fantastic time. So like, this battle wasn't even like, that's what this battle was about. It was just about where we came from, and then now we're battling in like these, like he's in his pro car, I'm in my car, which is like, you know, a higher pro-am car, and like we're just ready to rip. So like, I'm super hyped. I'm screaming in the radio, like, this is Jimmy with the boys, like, just grassroots feel. So he leads first. Now, like I said, I've never driven with this car. I haven't driven with him in 2 years. Didn't know if he still drove this car the way he drove his other cars. And on the bank, bam, right to his door. Like, glued to him, we're both wide open. Like, it was just nuts. Credit carding him on transition, just like we're throwing down just a sick battle. He's checking all the boxes and I'm just there with him. So now, you know, that lap's done and we are going nuts. Like, I'm screaming, hand out the window, like just having an absolute blast. It was insane that we got to throw down that crazy of a lap, like in a competition with my homeboy. Like, it was just nuts. So now we switch. I'm all hyped up still. And mind you, now, mine and Christian's passive driving, we're always telling each other they're number one. So there was multiple times in the battle where, you know, I had to let them know that, like, hey, still here. So we're all hyped up, like, yeah, you know, hollering at the line, just having an absolute blast. I'm in lead, lights go off, come out of the box, throw it in, and like, we are up on the wall and he is on my door. We are just absolutely ripping. And I was so hyped and it was so sick. I stayed on the wall like 20 feet longer than I should have because it was just that good. And he was there. Like, he was not coming off my door. Wherever I was going, he was going. So now I was like, I'm on the bank and I'm like, shit, man, we gotta be down there. So I come off the bank, throw it to the touch and go. I'm like 6 feet too far past the touch and go. And he's still on my door. Still there. We're in the completely wrong spot. And he's still there. So now I like snap the transition back, downshift a second, try to like get as much decel as possible without just like locking the brakes up to try to keep it on track. And like, we ended up going off track and then hooking back on and then like finish it. But it, you know, made him spin because I was nowhere near where I should have been. So I knew I lost the battle, but like, it was just such a blast to throw down like those the gnarly run up until that point, obviously. So we're hyped. I mean, I know he got the win and like, it still didn't even like get me upset because of how fun that was. Then we go back to the pits and like, I back in and I didn't know what was happening next. Like, these double elimination brackets kind of got confusing. So like, I didn't know if I had to battle again. So I just back in like normal. And then like, I remember looking over and like, Rich is standing there and he's just like, you did it. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, you did it. You got a license. And I'm like, no way. Like, no way. No, I didn't. He's like, yeah. He goes, you got third. He goes, you had third when you beat, you know, your battle before. And then this is just who went to the finals. So I was like, now I'm hyped. And the best part about this is that battle with Christian was on the borrowed wheels from Ryan and the tires that Perez gave me. Like, we went through everything of mine. I had no other tire left. And just the fact that these two dudes gave me the wheels to run, gave me the tires, like, I wouldn't have been able to go out there and, like, you know, run my third place battle if it wasn't for the dudes in this sport being so giving and so, like, generous. Like, that's what I love about this sport. So, like, literally this, I got this and got to stand on the podium because people helped me out. Like, that's it. I have these fancy wheels on my car that, like, were one of Ryan's, like, good friends that were, like, super sentimental to him, and he was just like, don't ruin them, go rip. And, like, I did it on those wheels and those tires. Like, I think that is one of the coolest things about this event is, like, it wasn't just going there, getting our license, standing on the podium, which was our first ever trophy and podium, so that was obviously super cool, but, like, the fact that I did it with everybody's help. The team was on point, all the homies were on point, like, keeping the vibes up, like, Perez, you know, giving me the tires, Ryan let me borrow on the wheels. Like, it was just an all-around effect of just, like, why I love drifting so much, and the fact that I was able to earn a license out of that event and, like, stand on the podium with, like, my best friend and Rich, like, club loose podium, and got to take home a carbon fiber trophy with a Prospec license and join all the homies next year in pro. Like, it was fantastic. Like, absolutely unreal event. And I just felt like I needed to make a recap because, you know, people don't realize, you know, some of the stuff behind the scenes. Like, all they see is, like, oh, you went out and won this battle, or you went out and you lost that battle. Like, the reason why this event went the way it did is because of all the people that helped me. Like, I wouldn't have been able to go out there and do all that without everybody's help. The team, friends, new friends that I've just met, and then, like, now we're tight. Like, I'm gonna go back there just to drive for fun because their hospitality was fantastic. Like, those guys put on a great event. And it's just, like, it felt like I needed to go through that story and just talk about it, because it was just, even though we got third and didn't, you know, and lost, but we lost to two of our homies in their pro cars, like, still put up a fight. I made 2 mistakes on my own, and, like, the event was perfect, absolutely perfect. Like, I could say that even standing on the 3rd place spot, like, on the box, hands down, it was perfect. Like, the car ran flawless. Made mistakes, but that's all part of drifting. So, like, we learned from the mistakes, fixed our head. The team picked me up. The team did fantastic in the pits. Like, it was just such a rad event, and, like, we went home with a Prospec license, which is super awesome. Like, got to do shoeies with my homeboys on the podium. Like, doesn't get much better than that. Club loose, fuck the world. Like, fantastic. So, yeah, just wanted to run through that and let you guys know what we went through and how the event went, and stay tuned because now we start building E46, so probably gonna do a build series on that. I got a coupe E46 that we're gonna start ripping on soon, so appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.